let's get started. We got a small group today, and we'll see if anybody else hops in as we go. I do have some exciting news. That's how we start these meetings off, with the think tanks. I know I'm explaining this to people that's already been here, but those that are listening to this as a recording, this is the beginning of our meetings. We start off with something exciting in our business, and basically we meet weekly. So what's something that's been exciting since the week that we met? And so something for me, it's been one of those things that it was almost up in the air. We didn't quite know if it was gonna go through, not our move to Panama and actually building out our first bioregional hub. We didn't know where that was going to be. We knew we were going to try to do it in Central and South America, and we actually kind of figured out that we're going to be in Panama. We know where we're going to be staying in Panama for our first trial of this hub, and we're going to do a 6-month trial with a tropical permaculture farm with Shaheen and Carrie, who have been on our been on this stuff in other areas like the regeneration pollination that we help to host as well. But yeah, so October 2nd is our date. We got our flight tickets. We are ready to go, and we're flying out October 2nd, and we actually know where we're staying this time. So it's official. So thank you. We will be just kind of crazy and trying to figure out all the moving stuff, and so my communications is a little crazy, so I'm sorry if you've been trying to get in touch with me and I'm like a week behind on my communications, like email, outreach on LinkedIn and those types of things, so please forgive me there, but that's exciting for us. There's been a few other things. One huge thing is I am doing the market research for getting a better understanding of what regenpreneurs are actually wanting on the education side of things. And that's coming along. We're looking for 250 responses. We just hit over 50, and I've been doing it for really focusing on this now for a couple of weeks. I had posted it a while ago. I just haven't had the time to really send out notifications and everything and focus on getting results for this, but we still need more responses from entrepreneurs. So I know Corey, you filled it out. Ray, you filled it out. I believe you filled it out too, Michelle, right? And so if you know any other entrepreneurs, I'm going to just leave it in the chat that are in the regenerative field. Please share that with them so we can get their feedback and understanding as well. But I will pass it over to Ray to share.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, good work on knowing where you're going, and I know that's a big loop that's been open for a little while. And that'll be exciting seeing you coming from your new hub and from some, that's going to be really interesting to follow. So hopefully you're going to document and learn out loud. It'd be really cool to see your whole journey there. So encourage you to capture that, because I feel like sometimes that can be an afterthought. You get there, you're like, oh, we didn't capture any of the journey. So that'll be cool. For me, exciting. I know I've been banging on about the podcast for several months, but that's finally launched on our Wednesday. So it's in stealth mode at the moment. I've launched it. So that's my win and exciting part. Secrets of the Soul podcast. If you hunt for it, you'll find it, but it's not ready for public promoting yet. And thanks for the shout out last week, Josh. I don't know if it was you or Emily, but I saw my name in your newsletter about the podcast, and that was pretty cool. So once you're settled, you're definitely on the hit list to interview as well. And anyone else in the regen space. But yeah, it's been good. I'm getting to a point where I feel like I need to basically publish 2 or 3 episodes a week. I've got a lot already in the bag and ready to publish. So and the challenge now is I have a really good conversation with someone like this week, and I want to publish it already. I'm like, oh my God, this is too good to wait for the 3-month schedule to kind of come around. So yeah, that's been really fun. And I'll be honest, I've been saying this to a lot of my friends, podcasting has actually helped me get through the COVID lockdown situation, because it's helping me connect and hear what people are doing and create content that I know that is going to be gifted to others to hear that conversation. And so it's kind of like a take and a give situation. And so doing all these interviews and being extremely busy and biting off more than what I can chew has helped me kind of drown out the noise that's occurring in the world. And in Melbourne, we're in curfew again and lockdown and people, yeah. So weird fun fact, but people who are scheduled to be released from prison have asked for their extension, for them to be extended. So it's actually more comfortable being in our prison system than in our actual real world. So just to shed some light on some of the situation, because you can't do anything in Melbourne at the moment. It is literally a prison state. Curfews, and our cases are like 20, 30, 55. So they're not big numbers, and we don't have a big population compared to the rest of the world, but we're definitely helicopter parenting at the moment, where it's like one case shut down. And New Zealand had that this week, where they had one case and shut down the whole place. So trigger happy, and I don't know, the coping mechanisms for this, but for me, podcast is out and really enjoying that flow. So it's awesome and keeping me hopeful. I'll throw popcorn to Michelle.
Not huge stuff this week, but one thing that I've been doing 2 workshops, one for actually one's a class where it's nature and counseling, and we actually do we talk about the ethics and responsibilities of nature as co-therapist, engaging nature as co-therapist. And we do an environmental identity assignment, and that assignment has really helped the students know themselves better, know where their influences come from, they really hadn't paid much attention to. And it's also made them very much more aware of how potentially exclusive they can be as a result of their worldviews, their development of their worldviews. And they've really dove deep into having to be fully aware and way more intentional with clients, especially that are very different from them. And I did the same exercise, and I'm about to do the same exercise in the conservation community. And I thought they'd be a little less embracing of it, but I actually have some really creative people. So I'm going to be really excited to what they present next week. But it's just making me think, there are some potential, like this, what I'm talking about with my environmental identity stuff. I'm finding that it's a really unique and reflective way to get at diversity and inclusion without some of the really in your face terms like white supremacy culture or any of the terms that can tend to cause triggers. This stuff is like automatically coming up through this exercise. So that's something that's really exciting for me, and I'm trying to figure out how do I get that out to more people with a title and description that still is provocative enough to bring people in. So it's kind of tricky that way. But I also had some really great conversations with some people of color that made me aware of a couple of more things that I just are going to be helpful for me as a white person going into, and trying to create more diverse spaces. Yeah. And which is required in this regenerative community.
It really is. In so many ways, sometimes I feel like I'm walking on eggshells to be able to talk. But at the same time, I'm also being expanded and learning how to speak with other people, because you don't want to feel like you're walking on eggshells. You do want to be able to feel like you're able to express yourself, and then at the same time, you also want to be forgiving, and you also want to be understanding. So when I do say something that's offensive, or someone says something that's offensive to me, I want to be forgiving, right? And be able to allow them to be able to say something, but I also want to be able to show up and say, this is the way that made me feel, or whatever, right? And I think in this regenerative space, we try our best to find a good openness without being able to close people off and always feel like they're walking on eggshells. So I'm hoping that's it sounds like you're doing that work, and that's really good.
Yeah, so it's been fun.
Awesome.
And I will turn it over to Corey.
Well, mine's going to sound kind of stupid, I think, but it's the most exciting thing that happened to me this week. For the past, I don't know, a couple of years, I've been experimenting with trying to grow food in urban spaces. And in Bogota, there's not a lot of unpaved land. So I've thrown, I had some success growing arugula. I just sprinkle seeds in they have these these places where trees grow out of the sidewalk in certain areas, and they've left a little box around the tree base open where there's no cement. So I just walk by and sprinkle some seeds as I walk by, and come back
Yes.
2 months later, and there's arugula growing there. Well, I started experimenting recently with a flower called nasturtium, because I learned that you can eat nasturtium. And I thought, this is interesting because I think it's less likely to get mowed down because it looks prettier than arugula does, especially when arugula goes to seed, it looks pretty ugly. But the nice thing about arugula is nobody knows it's food, so they don't take it. The bad thing is they don't know it's food, so they go ahead and mow it. So it has positive negatives there. So I'm trying with nasturtium, and I'm hoping that when they see pretty flowers, they just think, oh, don't cut the pretty flowers, that looks nice. So that'll kind of keep it preserve my project here. So I started putting seeds around the base of my apartment building where they have this little garden, and I got a plant to grow. I got one to grow, and it's been giving me a ton of seeds. So I've been saving the seeds, and I started planting. Now, about 2 blocks from my apartment, there's a river, and in Bogota, all the rivers are cemented, so it looks more like a drain culvert to me, but they call it a river. Along the sides of the river is land. It's kind of like a park. It's kind of like common area, but nobody uses it. And once in a while, you'll find a tire or an old toilet somebody's thrown there. They didn't want to, throw in the garbage, so because they wanted to save a little money, they just throw it there. Well, so it gets kind of ugly sometimes, but about every 6 months, the city comes through and mows it and takes all that garbage away. So about every 6 months, it's cleaned. But they mow everything down. I mean, everything, even if it's a pretty little plant, pretty little flower, doesn't matter, they mow it. Well, I started, it had been about 3 months since they came, and I planted a few of these nasturtium seeds, and they grew. And I put sticks around them to kind of mark it, telling these guys, please don't mow this. And these plants got about 2-3 months old, and it kind of hit a dry month. They kind of stopped growing. And so last Saturday, the guys came and mowed. And they didn't mow 3 of my plants that had started growing. So one day they mowed. The next day it rained. And the next day after that, I took all my seeds I'd been saving, and I went through and planted them all. So I planted about 300 seeds over about 150 meters stretch of this river. And now in theory, I've got 6 months till the guys come back to cut. But at the same time, the rainy season's starting. So that's the start of my next big experiment here. It started the other day. So we'll see how many of these plants grow and how much food I get, and then we'll see what happens in 6 months when the mowing crews come back. And see if I can get them to not cut down my flowers.
Do you just eat them raw? Like, how do you eat them?
Yeah, you can just pluck. Well, I guess you can eat the whole plant, but I've limited myself to just eating the leaves right now. You just pluck them and eat them like anything, like lettuce or whatever. They're kind of bitter tasting.
Fun fact, we call it rocket here in Australia, and other parts of the world call it rocket, and other places call it rugula. So same plant, in case. Yeah. Everyone says rugula sounds so much more fancy than rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear more arugula here, but I also, I hear a few different things.
But just to be clear, what I planted the other day is nasturtium.
Yeah.
Flowers.
Yeah.
Those.
And the whole plant apparently is edible, from the stem, the leaf, the flower, and it looks good, yellow and red and orange.
They got a strong flavor, so it's good. I prefer to mix it with leaves that don't have so much flavor, but rather than like a pure nasturtium salad would be pretty powerful flavor. And a lot of people don't like that flavor. It tastes a lot like arugula, actually, in my opinion. And but yeah, you can just pick a big leaf and cover your hamburger with that or whatever, or mix it with a salad. You can use it just like a piece of lettuce.
Huh.
So it's food, and in my opinion, the reason why I wanted.
Oh no, you just cut out.
I do this is develop more food growth, because I think it puts it less at risk of in case like all the roads get blocked off for some reason, or for some reason food can't get in and out of the city. There'll be a supply, so it gets more balance to the world. So
your guerrilla gardening is what it is. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's something I like to play around with that when I can't get out to my farm and my main project.
Yeah, makes sense. I would love to see more of that happening kind of all over. We tried to start guerrilla gardening. We just didn't have enough time to let it see its effects. There's a lot of parks where I live, right? And just neighborhood parks, right? We'll just be walking and then they're all grass. They have just horrible problems of like, they water at weird times of the day. They waste so much water, and we're in a huge drought here in the West. And it's just like, wow, this is ridiculous. Why can't we just plant some different crops? But like clover comes into our grasses all the time, right? But it's a drought resistant cover crop already, and it's also a nitrogen fixer here in so whenever we have just a little bit of extra seed for clover, we just go put it in the grasses and let it take over the Kentucky bluegrass that's typically found in parks and whatnot. So hopefully we could just see the clovers start to diversify and take over the grasses. That would be so much better. And you can mow them down. I don't care, as long as we change the types of crops that we're putting in places. Kentucky bluegrass is meant for, rainy places, not for the high desert areas, right? Okay, so I think we got through. While you were talking, I was thinking of what's his name, the guerrilla gardener himself. Like, he's known for it. He's done a bunch of different courses. Big black dude.
Ron Finley.
Yeah. It always reminds me of when someone's like doing these crazy urban projects and whatnot. That's what you were reminding me of when you were explaining it. It's Ron Finley. Anyways, fun stuff. Thanks for sharing, Corey. I don't think that's that gets me excited to hear you doing that. I think it's a huge win and a success. Let's go into the challenge, or actually let's open it up for the events that are happening in the regen space for us right now, and the things that we're putting on. Tomorrow, I'll just make sure to shout out, is Regeneration Pollination. Corey and I were kind of chatting about it beforehand. But yeah, come. It's a networking event specifically for regenerators, and that will be at 10 Pacific. Let me make sure. Yeah, 10 Pacific. And so whatever that equates to your time. Ray, I don't think it's the best time for you, but I think for us in the States and Americas, it should be good. It's usually a good showing that's our biggest showing at this point. It's kind of built the most.
It's not in my calendar. When is it tomorrow?
At 10 a.m. Pacific. So it's probably going to be like your night. Like
it's not in the
sleeping.
GRC calendar so far, from what I can see.
It should be.
Okay.
I'm seeing it on the GRC calendar.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not.
Maybe I haven't synced. Yeah, weird because it normally comes up, but yeah, I don't know. It's not there, but
I'm not seeing the GRC calendar right now. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's there.
Okay, weird. I just can't see it. Maybe I declined that one. I don't know. But yeah, no, that's when I think it's like at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. for me. So it's a bit hard to get to that one.
Yeah. So that's one event, and also tomorrow around 5. I haven't even put it on Clubhouse yet because I've been so busy with other things. We're just gonna do a meeting of sorts to review our week, kind of similar to what we're doing here, but we're trying to really focus on an accountability program on Clubhouse. So on the beginning of the week, we meet up and we share what we're doing for the week and what goals that we're going to accomplish on Mondays. And then that's early in the morning, and it's probably not the best time for Ray, but at the very end of the week, around 5 my time, which is 4 Pacific, we do our kind of recap of that, what we got done, those types of things, right? And we just share it out and blurt it out on Clubhouse. And then chat about it. So those are the couple things we'll be doing. And if you want to go to attend that, just follow the Seeds of Tao Clubhouse or club on Clubhouse.
What's it called?
Seeds of Tao. Are you on Clubhouse, Michelle?
I'm trying.
Okay. I've been kind of stepping away because I've been so busy. I don't have time to listen and chime in to stuff. So it can be a hard thing. It's like a hit or miss for me. Okay. So anybody else have any events going on?
I have another event which we partnered with someone to do. We kick off tomorrow morning, our time, 7:30, so 2 hours before what it is now. So it'd probably be your 3 afternoon. But it's a 21-day regen mindset challenge. So it's all about daily exercises to get you building new habits. I'll pop the link in the chat, whether it's you or you can share it into other networks. But we engaged Paul Blackburn. He's a mindfulness and mindset coach. He's also from the land, and he has a farm and grew up on a farm. So he's very in alignment when it comes to nurturing nature, and he's kind of tweaked his program for this to be more around regenerative and for farmers and soil lovers. So it's a 21-day challenge. It will go for 21 days. It's $97 Australian. So I think from your point of view, it'll probably drop 30%. So the price point will be, around that $70 mark. So whether it be you or someone in your networks, we want to share it around. I know it's very short notice, but we kind of just wanted to give people in Australia something to do during lockdown. And we thought a 21-day challenge would be super useful. And we kind of ran a webinar on Monday about it and went into a bit of a launch phase this week. So we've only really had about 7 days to promote this, and we're just, yeah. So, but Paul's done this program many times with his community. And normally it's about like losing weight, quitting smoking, and it can be about that as well. But we want to encourage people to like start a community garden or, start nurturing the soil or start a compost heap or go plant some trees and put some more earth healing challenges together during this 21-day challenge. So we'll see where it goes. We've got a small group of participants already. The cart will close, in the next, say, 24 hours. So yeah, if you want to share it around, or if you want to come along for the ride, thought I'd just share that as well. Yep, that's the only event for me.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I love the landing page that you guys have put up for it.
Well, it's all Paul. Like, this is his program. We're just inviting people to say, hey, you're a change maker. You want to do a really good thing, but you kind of start something and break the habit. Then let's build you up with a framework that can help you follow through. And it's 7:30 in the morning for us, because it's about starting the day off with this intention and a little daily exercise, but it's all available in replay as well. So it doesn't matter what time you can join. But yeah, we've had a very small window to promote it. And so we are basically going to, so it's, I think it was a good idea. I need it as a good idea. And we're just trying to make it work very leanly and quickly.
Right,
So
right.
this is what happens when we all go into lockdowns with no definite end date. Everyone gets a bit bored and they want to just create meaningful, useful stuff, So it's a bit of a way of putting some positivity in the air.
Good. I'm glad. I'll put it in, see if I can put it in the newsletter as well. Share along with you. If anybody has things that they want to share, I'm trying to keep our newsletter operating. It's kind of a hairy beast that I've been wanting to do, because I'm excited to be able to have a weekly newsletter that is filled with lots of information. And I feel like we're doing enough at this point with Seeds of Tao that we can share tons of things weekly. But I also really want to share and lift up the projects that are happening in our community. So I'll share that on the newsletter. And if anybody else has anything that they want to get in there as well, or want to be highlighted as well in the newsletter, I'm happy to do that. Okay, let's get into challenges. Let's open it up. I will just let the room say what it is. What's our challenge right now? I have a quick one.
I can think of one. I can think of a whole bunch. So
let me do this quick one,
because
I don't typically say, but I've been having a little bit of trouble with it, and it's mostly because I'm doing more outreach right now. And this is just kind of community. I want to know if anybody else has kind of run into this within the regenerative community. The global regenerative community, it seems like I'm having troubles and getting stuck in black holes in Africa, like people that are effective in permaculture and regeneration in Africa are kind of crowded out by all these other people that are. I want to give respect to even the small projects, but I get so inundated with people messaging me on Facebook and now even on LinkedIn with really small projects in Africa that they're asking for money from, and I'm trying to weed through those. Every now and then I'll get a really cool project that's happening in Africa that I want to help and stand up and engage with, but for the most part, I'm just being like bombarded left and right by all these little projects. I'm wondering if anybody else is having that challenge with their outreach or just communications within this space. I know we don't have a lot of people. I was actually waiting for MP to come up and address this with MP, because she does a lot of work in Africa, and see what she thinks. But maybe I'll like timestamp this and ask and tell her to listen to the part of the discussion later on, because she hasn't been able to come on these for a little while.
I've gotten a couple.
You have?
Yeah,
okay, so it's not just me.
Yeah, a couple. Hey, could you do me a favor and just like save them all somewhere, like on a list or somewhere you can, where if I ever wanted to, I could contact them back, all of them.
All at once, the projects in Africa?
Well, maybe not all at once, but we could just find them again.
Yeah. No, it's a good way to do it, actually. Is I should probably be trying to figure out how to bucket these into more. a stronger way of working with them, right? Um, yeah, that's a
I'm
good
working
idea.
on something that I might be able to help them in the future, just not yet. So it'd be nice to be able to find them in the future for me.
Cool. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I should do that then. I will start. Uh, oh, do you know what? That's what I'm actually doing, actually, in a roundabout way. Now I know how to apply this. So, with regeneration pollination, we're building out a networking mind map. Right? I think I mentioned this to you guys before. So, if you've ever seen a mind map, right? Uh, you see where one person connects to, or you see where one thought connects to another thought. But we're doing it with the regeneration pollination network. So I'm going to start connecting as many people I can to regeneration pollination. Everybody that comes in to regeneration pollination is going to be a part of this mind map. But then we're going to see how our other networks are connected, and it's eventually going to be opened up for an open source, similar to like Wikipedia, where Ray, you can go in and just start adding all these people that right? I can go in and add whatever I know, Corey, and you can link them to you and say, this is our connection or whatever, right? So maybe as I start to collect all these different Africa projects that that have been kind of outreaching to me, and then I accidentally outreach to them, not realizing that it's just yet another one of those projects that I can't do anything with at this point. But maybe I can put them in this network, and then when it's time for you to be able to figure that out, I can put a regional tag on them, and you can see everybody that's connected to that specific region or a certain type of project, right? And yeah, so that's something we've been building out and working on. So maybe that actually gives me an idea now. Okay, so that was a quick one. I don't think I really need to dive deeper into that. But anybody else have thoughts? Go for it, Ray.
Oh, no, I was just unmuting to think, would that encourage me to say something? No, I think like putting them somewhere in a mind map is awesome. I know GRC has like an Airtable list of everyone who's kind of like in GRC. Yeah, so I don't know if you've seen that on their website. So and then I think there's another platform who was doing this as well, isn't?
Weaver
I feel
Network,
like someone in this
Henna
room.
Apricot.
Yeah, that's maybe it was that I was thinking about. Yeah, because I know I was in this group.
And she
there's
was
kind of
one
like,
of the founders of Regeneration Pollination as we were
Yep.
kind of building this out. So it
Yep.
still has that flavor and presence of what Hannah kind of put in here. The thing that's a little different for us in mapping this out is we really are looking to try to make this more about the actual connections, right? We're not just building the platform. We're actually trying just to map connections and understand those connections, not build a platform on it, right?
Yep. Okay, cool. That's cool. I feel like this would be a cool project for like blockchain technology, where it's like everything's sitting in like it would be awesome. But yeah, no, I think it's good to map that. And I think also we need to be mindful when we say small project, because what we feel like might be a small project in local economies could be a massive project. And so like I get people reaching out to me saying, hey, can you help fund a wheelbarrow? I don't know if you call that a wheelbarrow in America, but like the thing that you carry dirt in, soil in. So, like scales of economy, in more developing countries, like their projects of building, something small could be really, really big for them. And that's why I like using Kiva a lot, because I feel like, I don't know if you're familiar with Kiva, but it's like micro loans, and it helps people kickstart their entrepreneur business. It's KIVA. And so you give money, but they take a micro loan and then pay it back. So it's kind of the theory of, teach someone to fish and they will eat forever rather than just giving them a fish. And so, yeah, so I think that's just something that I really like supporting. And like the money comes back. Some people default, you don't get all your money back, but you can keep compounding it. So I have about 1,000 AU in there, which is about about $700 that US. And it just kind of keeps circling in there. And I've been doing it for about 10 or 15 years. So like empowering people, and that's what I do when people reach out to those things, say, hey, can you give me money for wheelbarrow? I say, sure, go set up a Kiva and I'll give you money in that space, and then you pay it back, and then you help other people get a wheelbarrow as well and build a business. So I kind of like that theory more, but yeah, I just wanted to be mindful of our small scale projects is probably not so small in other parts of the world as well. So scales of economy. And also, just so you don't get confused, I put MP timestamp in the chat so you can easily find that timestamp for MP.
Yeah,
when you look at the thing. No.
And you're totally right. And I
By
feel
the way,
a little
I
bad
missed
now
her
saying
wherever
it.
she is. Come back.
Yeah, I know. Her meetings are falling on her meetings for her organization, right? For the projects that she's running.
Yeah, all good.
Falling on this. But yeah, I've run into Kiva before. Thanks for putting that in the chat, Corey. But that's smart to direct them to Kiva that way. Because I get,
it helps filter out if it's a scam. Sometimes it could be a bit of a scam, sub story, I need help. And they might get, $10 from lots of people. It could be scam. And so I feel like going through a platform like this, if they're willing to go to Kiva, set up themselves as a micro loan participant, it's more empowering to set up for success long term, I think.
So do you think that they are scams? Because that's one thing that I was hoping that, yeah, okay, so now I can just direct.
I don't know if there is, and I don't, I hang out in the blockchain technology a lot. And so when people from all parts of the world will copy a key person of influence, steal their video, set up an official fake account and live stream, and then say, hey, donate to keep this, coin going, and thousands of dollars gets taken, like, I just can't be, I'd like to have a boundary or a barrier of protection. If I had surplus money and I could just give it away, I totally would, but I don't. And so if someone's going to ask me for money, I just want to put a little obstacle in the way that says, I'm happy to do this, but let's follow a more official pathway rather than just wiring money to an account or a PayPal account, or, and especially when the PayPal accounts are like random numbers and letters at the end, and it's just a Gmail. I'm just like, oh, this feels a little bit weird.
So that's probably my biggest concern. But I keep on doing, like, why would someone in permaculture do that? Right. That's like my mentality. And maybe I'm just, so maybe there is scam.
I don't think they're in permaculture though. That's the dilemma. Like it could be I'm not trying to be like, cynical of people, but it's like most of these scammers are just pretending to be someone in an area that is a bit more empathetic to create, like with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, it's like it's a trend, and there's a lot of money moving around. And so like even in the NFT market, I know we speak about this all the time, but people copying NFTs and pretending to be the real project, and people are buying fake NFTs, and this is for like, $2,000-$3,000, it's not little money. So I'm just trying to be cautious and make sure that the money can be amplified. I want to empower someone to set up their local little farm, and then that money keeps, being recycled. I've put money in and I've never taken money out, so I don't know, just a little kind of safeguard of a barrier of entry,
Well, it also helped me as I get these people and kind of map them as well to know if they truly are a project that's working. Because because I do so much outreach, I typically have been getting like 10 people a day that are these types of projects. And I'm wondering if I'm just, because I do so much outreach, I'm getting more spammers and I'm getting more people doing weird, shady things in my inbox. And for a little bit in the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. I'll help with this where I can, and these types of things. But now I'm just getting so many of them that I don't know what to do with them,
Yeah. And that's one of the things, if you help once, they're in a network, and it goes around and saying, here's someone who helped me. You know, it's like the telemarketing's kind of auto dialers. And then when you answer, the auto dialer goes, that's an active number. Then it gets sold to all the telemarketers, and then you get hundreds of phone
It's
calls
also how
within a
scammers
week.
run too. So maybe I've actually helped a scammer, and then now that same, you know, they know they've marked me as someone that helps or will pay, you know, fell into
maybe
the trap,
I don't know.
essentially.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, not but it's this is why. And I have a canned response, and I just say, look, I help lots of people. This is how you do it. You know, this is how I, you know, am happy to do it. So yeah.
Cool. Well, that helps me out quite a bit, actually, because it's been something.
And I'm
that's
pretty
been
sure
bugging
with
me.
Kiva, you can put a brand level. So you could almost have like a Caesar Dell Kiva page, and we could all contribute to that one and create, you know, create that movement, you know.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm definitely gonna play around with this a little bit more. Thank you guys for sharing and helping me out on that one.
Can I bring up
No,
a
it's a-
challenge?
Go ahead, Corey.
Okay, well, I've got I got tons of challenges. So I try to stop and think of which one's going to be the most interest to this group. And based on what you just brought up, help me choose which one I'll bring up of mine. So I'm working on a website. It's going to be like a fundraiser website. It's going to be like along the lines of GoFundMe and these type of websites. Okay, but it's going to be different. And I don't want to say how it's going to be different yet. But in order to set it up, I found that I'm going to need the help of a web developer. So my challenge is finding a good web developer who cares about this kind of thing, like who would work for maybe part of the future of the business, like become sort of a partner, rather than just, because I've heard stories that, oh, if you want to do that, it's going to cost you 100,000 or $1 million. I don't know, these crazy numbers that I don't have. So if it comes down to where I'm going to need to pay somebody, you know, straight up, you know, tons of money, well, then this is just never going to get done. And I'd like to see it get done, because I think it's going to do a lot of good for a lot of people. And that's why when you mentioned that you had all these potential projects, see, I'm thinking that they could all benefit from this website I want to make if the website ever gets built. So once the website's built, then I'd call those people up and like Ray said, put an obstacle, say, okay, I'm not going to send you money, but I'm going to tell you about this awesome new fundraising page. And if you follow the instructions of the website, you'll get money, you know? So that's how it all ties in with what you guys were just talking about.
Very cool.
So I need a web developer. I'll just put that out there.
You know, I know a lot of web developers. I can't say that I know. This is something web dev and creatives, they get so inundated, especially if they're involved in other passion projects. They get so inundated with people saying, oh, come join my project, right? And we'll do it for possible equity and those types of things. So it is a huge thing. I am weary giving out names and those types of things, but I will give out one name who has been in this community, Joshua Bridge, Jimmy Gumdrops, he goes by Jimmy, who may want to be involved in this project, because I think it's kind of in his wheelhouse, but also he may know others, right? That if he doesn't know someone, he might be able to pass you on to someone. And I would address, in almost every single time that I've addressed someone, I did this for a videographer and finding a videographer partner for my last branding agency, because I knew it was going to be videographers. They always get asked to join projects on equity and those types of things. And it's similar with web dev. And what you do in those situations is they have a network as well. and they know someone that's maybe a little hungry at the moment as well too, just to do work. And so what you do is, instead of ask for them to join your project, you say, would you know anybody? Because I know you're in this network. Do you know anybody that might be able to chat with me on develop and just talking to me about this idea and getting some ideas of what I would need to do? And you place it like that. And so it's a learning game for you. So you learn a little bit, but you also start to meet people within the network. And I actually, that's how I got my business partner for No Better Brand when I was building up my branding agency. I knew that video was going to be huge for the branding agency that we were going to start. I wanted not just a videographer, I wanted a director. I wanted someone that knew how to create and do storytelling with marketing and branding. And so I went that route. I just started asking people about videography in the world of and tried to understand that world more. And as I did, people started recommending I should talk to this person. And then once they saw that I was really involved in trying to learn more about what it would take to create what I was envisioning, they got excited about what I was creating, and they either referred me to someone or they started having more conversations with me. And that's how I met my last partners. We just kept on having almost like weekly videography talks and talking about branding and videography, that we just started working together on a project. And then it became a business together, right? And I don't want to be manipulative in that respect. So use this with good intent, right? When I'm saying this to you, but that's kind of how I would go about it.
Okay.
What's your experience with web development? Where would, like, do you know the language? Like, where would you say you are at all?
Well, I feel like it's kind of this, it's just, I don't know how to define it. Okay, I know how to make a basic website, and I know some HTML, and I know how to like cut and paste code, to put things where I want it and stuff. So I can do that. I guess I'm not sure what the difference is between that and development, but somebody smarter than me told me that's what you need, Corey.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, for me, it sounds like you, like, for instance, the web company that I work with, which I'm sure they do more, just the fact that you are talking about a funding source and money crossing hands and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you're, for me, when I heard you say that, your number one is security. So you gotta know somebody who not only knows security but stays on top of security. So so that is web development. But for me, when you were describing that, I would want that to be the number one. Like, yeah, there's a lot of people that can build good websites, but where are you with staying on top of the latest security?
You're asking me?
I think that's more of a rhetorical. But,
rhetorical. Okay, all right.
But trying to, or is it? Sorry, Michelle.
Yeah, no. For me, that's the, if I were you, as I'm hearing this project, any web developer that I'm talking to, if they don't have a pretty serious understanding and continuous education around security, then I would pass. Like, that would be my first question, is what I'm saying.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Corey, I also would like to add in regards to this, like, because you haven't shared what's unique about the project, and respectful that you want to keep that to yourself, but when seeking partnerships like this, it's more about like what's in it for them, because often I feel like the conversation here is like, I've got this problem that needs to be solved, and we can share in the revenue if it works. So it's like you get the delivery up front and it's front loaded because your problem is getting it developed, but their reward on it is back loaded. And I'm not saying there's not people out there, and I've done this many times myself, where I'm in it together. And a lot of my startups in the years have been around, let's throw mud, see what sticks, and we might make some money, but have fun along the way. So I know, especially now, out of all times, there's a lot of people searching for impact and meaning and fulfillment. So there would be a lot of people out there who are absolutely exhausted with the system, the way that it's running, and are just looking to scratch an itch and work in a project that actually uplifts them and wants to bounce them out of bed and be like, I'm working on this app that's going to, do X, Y, Z. So I feel like the time that you're asking for this is quite good. I would probably just put a little bit more thought into what's in it for the developer that outweighs just the win at the end of the conversation, because it might not go anywhere. My other gut feeling is to do a minimal viable product of this. So before doing any lines of code, like there would be crowdfunding platforms where you could kind of hijack their technology and their security and validate whether your unique selling proposition actually has any traction or legs. So the system that you're trying to develop about raising money probably already exists, like GoFundMe or Chuffed or possibly even Kickstarter. So your unique value proposition could be tested on a platform that already has solved these problems. And then if that gets traction, then you can kind of go, well, we've got validation. Now let's go build a platform that specializes in this. So yeah, I don't know, just a way of maybe like low-hanging fruit, testing the market. And without knowing what your uniqueness is, I don't know if I can comment to like where that sits in my mind of whether, what it is. But I've thought I've had amazing $1 million ideas in the shower, and then I go and test them and they go absolutely nowhere, so an idea is worthless unless it's backed by some execution and traction. So, yeah, just start lean and outsource the security problem. I would hate, to be honest, to have a platform where my other people's security was my headache and my sleepless nights. I want Stripe to have that problem, not me. So.
Yeah. I just want to acknowledge Mary just showed up. I'm not sure if that's you, Mary. Merry Christmas, or yes, it is. Awesome. It's good to see you.
You too.
Yeah, it's been a little bit, and I know Emily's been chatting with you a little bit too, and I've been hearing kind of the seconds getting to understanding just kind of as the third party on the side, but it's good to have you here. If you want, just to introduce yourself real quick, Mary. We're kind of in this challenge where we're helping Corey build out a potential funding or potential partner, not a funding partner that would take possible equity to help him develop a website or a platform for him. And so that's the challenge that we're working through right now. But go ahead and please introduce yourself and what you're up to. Give us an update.
Okay, yeah. So I'm part of a group that's starting a school, and I am the director of permaculture, which is like the wildest thing for me. And right now I'm working on a curriculum, and I'm like feeling like I'm gonna burst, but I'm also really happy. It's like such a great opportunity. I don't know if you saw any of those videos I said, Emily, like it just how things are all crazy and stuff. But so yeah, it's like a school K through 12, and I just got Matt Power's curriculum. I've been going through it, using it as inspiration and stuff. So I keep forgetting to come to this, and I just noticed what time it was, and I'm like, it's not over yet. So sorry I'm so late, but
no worries. Well, Mary, it's good to have you. And I have been listening to Emily's what do you call it? What's the
Marco
app?
Polo.
Marco Polo. I've been actually Ray, I got to get you on because it's like a Marco Polo, but it's like a Marco Polo mixed with Slack. It's called it's called, oh, why don't I have it up here? Volley, Volley. And yeah, so I want to get you on Volley with me, so we can kind of
Okay.
go back and forth. It's really what I've been looking for a while.
Yeah,
You know, we've
I
been
can't
chatting about
wait.
this.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
understand why Slack doesn't have an audio feature, but anyway.
Yeah, and they have a application that kind of butts up with Slack already,
Okay.
and they're
Cool.
local. They're Utah based, Salt Lake City.
Send me the link. Oh, I love apps. You know that.
Yeah. So I'll I mean, it just now all of a sudden hit up after a conversation, Mary kind of sharing Marco Polo stuff. But yeah, I've been listening. Emily's just been telling me the things about what you're doing, Mary. So definitely want to catch up more. Hopefully you can come to these more often. But sorry, we kind of steamrolled Corey's challenge here. Let's get back into that. It's just exciting to hear all the things going on. There's one thing that I wanted to mention in regards to kind of white labeling some of the stuff. There is a ton of resources. White labeling technology usually looks like it costs a lot up front, but in reality, when you find something that's baked in, you know, a developer hiring a developer, it's a whole wormhole, right? And so if you can find a white source solution where you can even get that first little beta test up of your platform, where you don't have to worry about, you know, creating the technology that's being secured and all of those other things, you'll be able to get rid of a lot of the unforeseen costs of actually building something yourself. And that's why they look expensive. Like I use Kajabi for our education platform for our website, right? And so we built our website on Kajabi, but it has all of the education back, so I can put courses and all sorts of different really cool back end stuff, and my marketing is integrated with it. And I do spend a significant amount on it, but I don't have to pay for a development team, and I don't have to have the headache of working through the development process of building a platform. I could just get to work on creating courses and putting it out there, right? Which eventually that will have to change once I hit like 100 contributors into my platform, as 100 educators are creating content, or organizations are creating content under our platform. That's probably when I'm going to have to move over, but I don't have to do that for quite some time, because I have a solution for me in this moment. So I just wanted to mention that for you, Corey, that there's probably a white labeled solution that someone like maybe even GoFundMe is on a platform like that, or started off on a platform like that. So if you do your research, and this is another thing, is like get to know a bunch of web developers and just start chatting with them and try to understand your problem well enough, they will probably tell you what those white labeled solutions are, and direct you that way as well. So just a thought.
Yeah, I want to second that white label idea, and don't just expect that these platforms will say that they offer a white label solution on their website. Like sometimes if you don't ask, you don't get. So if you find a platform like GoFundMe, you can send an email to their team and say, just wanted to know whether you have a white label version. And are you familiar with what white label means?
Never heard of
okay,
it.
cool. Okay, so it means like, yeah, grabbing someone else's technology. Yeah, take someone else's technology and they let you put your logo there, and they let you put your description there. So you can use their back-end technology, but on the front of house, it looks like it's your website. So that's what white label means. It's like a way that developers and software as a services are able to scale and solve other people's problems with their technology. So front of house might be like GoFundMe has all these users, but their white label might be that, say, like a big bank company goes and white labels it and now says, we have a bank funding page, and sometimes they even let you customize your domain, but the back-end technology is actually GoFundMe. I'm not saying GoFundMe has a white label, but that's kind of the idea of it. So complete tech outsource, but your logo front of house, and you can position and market it as if it's your website. And yeah, I totally forgot about white labeling. So Josh, massive good idea there. But my tip would be to ask, because some people don't put on the front of their websites that they offer white labeling services, which is what I've found. So you do have to like email them and speak to them offline a bit, you know.
Amazon is one of those, right? Like, so Amazon actually makes a lot of their money from running the internet on the back end side of things. And so there's all their database software and technology is white labeled for big business to be able to use. And so basically Amazon runs the back end of the internet, and it's almost completely white labeled, right? Amazon services. Yeah.
Yep. And most software companies realize that there's more money in white labeling because it's one headache as opposed to 5,000 headaches to make the same amount of money.
Yeah, this is a good, interesting topic. What do you think, Corey? What's coming up for you?
If I could find a website that does what I'm looking for, in theory, if they white labeled, then I could just basically copy that existing website. Is that what you're saying?
Copy the code
if they allow me to.
Essentially, you'll be using the code that they've already created to apply to other areas. So I mentioned Kajabi, and Kajabi is a tool, a software as a service that helps people get their education platforms up, right? So they don't have to worry about creating a bunch of different pieces to be able to host lots and lots of video, audio, educational resources, and put it in a way that they can actually market it as well. And so Kajabi is essentially a white label. You could call it a white label software as a service, where I use Kajabi. Matt Powers actually uses Kajabi. If you're familiar with some of these names, Jeff Lawton, I believe, uses Kajabi. And there's a lot of just educators in the permaculture space that use Kajabi because they don't want to build out their own platform. Now, like a Coursera, which is a massive open online course, they've created their own platform. And so that's the difference, right? But they're huge, right? They have hundreds and hundreds of courses that they're putting out there, right? So they would need a different solution than like someone like me who only has a few different courses, or someone like, I think, Ray, you guys built your own using like WordPress, right? So there's different things that you can do.
I wouldn't recommend that though for an MVP. So owning the software feels good for the ego, doesn't necessarily mean it serves the planet better. And now I've taken over this business and it already had this infrastructure there. But if I was to rinse and repeat, I would completely just go and follow Kajabi and use their technology and make sure that they've been online and how the quizzes work and how the certificates get issued is all on their headache, which means that I can sit in my sweet spot and just find course creators, help them build their course and publish it. So in hindsight, yeah, that'll be great. But another example, like when I ran a web design business, I wanted to sell domain names and hosting, but I don't want the headache of all that. I just want the clipping along the way. So I went to, say, Crazy Domains. They offer a white label. I set up as a reseller, put my logo, put my own domain name, and now I have a front store that enables me to sell domain names and hosting and all this other jazz. But someone will buy a product for $20 and I get $6. But all the technology and the tech is handled by Crazy Domains. And so a lot of domain platforms on the internet are actually resellers of parent companies or white labels. And so that's another example where I get to look like I run my own hosting and domain name company, and it was called Daily Domains, and I had my own domain name, and it would drive people to a sales page and a full checkout system. But I didn't write one line of code. I just signed up, put my logo, put my domain name, set all my prices, hit publish, and now I'm basically a domain name and hosting register. And I did this like 10 years ago. Like, white labeling is not a new thing, It's been around for a very long time. So that's like another use case where I get to get the benefits of positioning myself as a domain and hosting provider, but don't have to worry about any of the tech, until a customer can't pay a bill, and then I have to go and solve that problem. So you still get some of the admin concerns, but you don't have to worry about all the tech and the security and the credit card and all that jazz. So, yeah. So maybe that's a new rabbit hole that you can go down to maybe help you solve this as a solution, to go like literally find a company that's doing what you want to do in another niche, and then reach out and see whether they have a white label system, and maybe they become your tech partner. You're the one who's really driven about topic X, and they've got the technology, and so you might take, from their service fees and operation costs, it might be a 50-50 on the revenue, or 30-70, type of situation. So they become your partner without having to write a line of code.
Yeah, I would go the route, and I know, Ray, you've mentioned this. I would go the route first instead of going after someone that might be competition, or even someone that's in a different industry and doing something different. But I would, and then try to see what they're using. I would go for, and I would have the conversations with the developers first. They're going to know the white labeled scenarios, and you could even just bring it up. I know if you talk to Joshua Bridge, though, he'll direct you to build it on your own. Like some developers are just going to tell you to go a certain way, and they will take you down that rabbit hole of the way that they prefer. And so Joshua will give you a good understanding of what it's going to take to build out your own, and you'll use WordPress, right? Because that's what he knows. And that's kind of what someone will direct you to. But that's one way of doing it, right? And so you'll probably want to just say, well, what are those white labeled solutions, and do you know anybody? Or just kind of ask some questions and see what other areas it kind of takes you as well. But yeah, I think that's probably your first bet before you actually hired a developer, is just get to know all of these different solutions that you can possibly take before taking on a big project of actually building a platform. It is huge.
Thanks. That is awesome information I did not know before. I'm excited. I mean, I'm sitting here already thinking how I'm going to start searching. Okay. Wow.
Awesome. Okay, so we do have probably enough time for one small challenge. That was cool how we went through that one, and that kind of just went through like several different ways and paths that an entrepreneur can tackle something. So I think that's helpful to a lot of people that even watch this on a recording basis. So small challenge. We can do a small challenge right now, or we can take a little bit more time to go over what we've learned today and what we're applying. We're still going to do that, but we can take more time to do that the rest of the 15 minutes, or we can do a small challenge that's like 5-7 minutes, something that's quick that we can talk.
I could maybe throw a question out.
Yeah, let's do it. I love your questions, Michelle.
So this is my, this is probably more, well, I'll just throw it out there. Okay, so round 2 or in the case of Melbourne, 3, 4, and 5 of lockdown, I believe is about to come here in the US. And I know that there is a lot of Zoom fatigue, and I mean, there's just, people are overwhelmed, exhausted, helpless, like all that kind of stuff. If you had to say what one thing is the biggest challenge going into a second lockdown in moving either education or any kind of project forward, what would you say that is?
That is an amazing question.
Do you want honesty or like?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
lack of leadership. Lack of
Okay,
leadership.
well, I appreciate that because yeah.
If we can't trust our leaders, who can we trust? You know, we've bought in, been sold this promise that we can lean on the greats. And in my honest opinion, don't know if I want to say this on the record, it's recording. It's broken. It's broken, you know. So yeah. So it's leadership. And I think, you know, like I was speaking to a friend yesterday, it's like we just need to be the light. We need to keep, you know, without light there, you know, without darkness there is no light. But it's like we just need to keep, like, we have pushed through COVID. The minute in March 2021, when COVID first hit, the first thing we did when people at home, time to kill, facilitators silenced, cancelled events, let's run a 15-day summit. And we threw it together in like 2 weeks. That's kind of when I met Josh. And we were just reaching out far and wide and said, we're running a summit. We want to solve this problem. We want to give people to do. It was exhausting. It ran for about a month by the time it was lead up, and we haven't stopped. We took the opportunity to digitalize all our DVDs and put them into online programs. I did an activated humans program. I did a permaculture living course. I just went internal. I went, how do I fill up my cup so that way I can be hopeful and impactful to others? And I can't rely on the system. I can't rely on the world that it currently is. And I learned the power of the people and community. And we as the people, custodians of the planet, can group together, and we are so much more powerful when we work together. And so I went decision power, like decision making, voting with my dollar. I moved my 401k, or what we call super, into funds that don't support fossil fuel. If you're in Australia, there's one called Future Super. I moved my money. I've been with the same bank since I was like born. My parents set it up. And I went, no, enough is enough. And I moved all my money into a fund that is owned by the people, that invests in conservation parks and nature, wildlife, and doesn't support fossil fuel and polluting. And it's Bank Australia. And we also have some community banks. So I went and I made content about this, and I put videos out and I said, now is the best time for us to feel helpless, but empowered to make change. So while we're sitting here in lockdown, let's get our shit sorted. Let's get admin done, move your money that you've always said you're going to move, and make better buying decisions and empower ourselves to educate. And so that's what I did, you know, and it got me. I started the podcast for the same thing. It's like, what fills up my cup? And so my advice is, you know, that I guess, you know, vote with your dollars. I would love to see a time where there is a silent protest. We all get together, and within the same hour, everyone just takes $1,000 out of their bank account. First ripple. The next hour, another $1,000 out of the bank account. Next ripple. Watch how quickly everyone will get their shit sorted.
Wow, that would be really fun. Oh, Michelle, you're muted.
Yeah, I'll join you in that. So you let me know when you're going to start the ripple.
We're gonna do some Reddit thing here, and then
yeah.
Yeah.
Like look at what's happening with crypto. So much money is going into crypto, and the system is shit in itself. And you know, I'm not saying you have to go invest in crypto or anything like that, but just even if 7.5 billion people, I'm not saying everyone has $1,000, but if just that small amount of money came out of the banking system, that would send a ripple effect, more than walking down the streets with flags and giving people more power to increase the laws. Watch them ban ATMs if everyone started doing that.
Yeah.
Then people will realize that they don't own their money; it's leased.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So one of the things with leadership, at least where I've seen it, where I work, is this attitude about, I am in this position of authority and I know things, and you know, like I can make decisions, but I also know best. When I believe that the best leadership is putting the people around you and guiding them to be the most creative people they can be. So, you know, so that's when I think of leadership, not so much politicians, because what, you know, like, and rich people, you know, I don't really consider them as much leaders. They have the power. leadership wise, I'm thinking like in organizations, what's the, I'll think about what's the $1,000 action that they can all do within their organization that will make the authority figures stand up and take stuff seriously. You know, like maybe it's you know what, everybody on X and X day is going to take a wellness day because the organization refuses to talk about the effects and the trauma of the pandemic, and we're just going to take the, you know, we're just going to force it.
I think leadership is an inside job. It starts like my podcast with Josh was about know thyself, and until you know how you operate, it's very hard to outsource that. One of the things that really grinds my gears on the internet is when people go, schools should be teaching our kids about growing food. No, it starts in your own backyard. Stop outsourcing the problem to another division. It's not their problem that your kid doesn't know how to grow food. It's your problem because you didn't instill that curiosity for them to question where the food comes from. So the problem is with you. And I feel like we live in a society now, and sorry, I'm getting a little bit angry, but it's like it's not the government's problem. We don't have to wait for governments to legislate regenerative farming practices. We just make it normal. We just go out and regenerate the planet and don't worry about the legislation to catch up because we know that that's broken. I went to a council meeting the other day and they're still talking about freaking paper voting bases and hard rubbish collection. I'm like, this is drops in the ocean, waste of everyone's time to solve these problems. The world is on fire and it's flooding and we have a pandemic, and like, what the hell are we doing pretending that cleaning the gutters and removing the weeds is the biggest problem? Like, come on, wake up. Like, forget about outsourcing a problem, work within, heal yourself, and then the world and the paradigm completely changes. And we just need to lift that vibration and that energy so everyone is sitting on this new level where we just don't give a shit about what the government's saying anymore. I've been in rooms with regenerative leaders who people of parliament are in there saying, what can parliament do to help this? And the response collectively is just move out of the way. You're just going to complicate it and fuck it up. So move out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, blockchain, there are virtual worlds on the internet right now that operate with more stability than our current planet right now. And it's all blockchain, it's all voting, it's all owned by the people. You get the ability to vote and be heard. And as a collective group, you can, you know, and that will set the model. This is why I believe in crypto and blockchain so much. That will set the model of how the new system will work. You know, so internal self-awareness, know thyself.
I like that. I like that.
Rant over.
Yeah. No, it's good. I appreciate that. I agree with you because it's made so much of a difference in my life. It's just hard. Like, yeah.
So moving into this possible next lockdown, I personally hopefully won't be here in the States. We'll hopefully be in Panama. But one thing that I am going to do regardless, and I think is so needed in an unknown situation, is stand up. And I think we've been saying it, like, let's stand up for and not play the victim in any way. And Ray, that's what I was going to say before Ray went on his wave there of fury, because you could tell he's living it right now. But we all need to stand up, and especially in regeneration, like what we're doing right now. Like we can't. There's no room for being passive and saying that, oh, I can't provide for myself in regeneration, and so therefore I'm not gonna be able to regenerate, or I can't find land, or I'm going through all this market research right now with these entrepreneurs, and the challenges that they're giving me in so many ways are just them not being holding themselves accountable, and playing the victim. Like, if you don't have land, then go get it, right? Like, don't give me your pity party story of why you can't get land to change the soils and whatnot. You may not be able to own the land, then rent it. Do whatever it takes to regenerate the soil, right? Stand up and make a difference. It's so frustrating when you hear people saying things that they do have control over and they just relinquish it, right?
Yeah, gotcha. I like that. I will.
That's what I was gonna how to say it. It's there, right? It's like it's bubbling right now. With everybody in regeneration, especially, and I'll put it out there. There is a trend and a pattern that I see of playing the victim within the regenerative and permaculture world, and we need to stop that because we're not getting anything done.
Hell yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad I asked. That's a good frame of mind to keep when I'm doing this. Is don't let it stop me. Move. Let the trains leaving the station, yawn or not.
Exactly. We just got to keep on going, and we're not stopping. Like Mary, it's so cool to hear how just not even that long ago you knew nothing about permaculture and you just like started showing up, right? And even if you don't know anything, like you just go, like you don't stop, and you keep on moving forward. And that's what we got to do with this pandemic. Like we're going to go into another round of shutdowns, and we're going to start throwing a pity party for ourselves. That's one way. Or we can go and just keep on, and we can stand up even further and stand up taller and be something, be a force, right? And that's what we need to do in order to make the changes. That's what we want to do, not need. That's what we want. And we're just not doing what we want.
There's something like about being the light, like, and it's like your heart, like even if you don't have all the knowledge, especially me, right? I feel like I can say that right now, but I'm like trying to guzzle it as fast as I can, but it's still like, but there's something about being just, there's so much negativity, and it's like, I just went to a mock class or whatever where we taught the parents so they'd see what the school would be like and all this stuff, and it felt so good. And it was like, it wasn't like trying to, I mean, the question isn't like, do you believe in climate change? Do you believe in global warming? Because if you do, you need to believe in it. You need to do this. It's like, no, the question is like, do you love the earth? And what I was like teaching was, these are the principles of permaculture, and these are examples of things that can come from it. And it just felt like so much light, there was nothing negative about it. And people were like, what? I've never heard of this before, like Hugel culture, or just like different things. There was just like, I don't know. I feel like if we could find something, like anything that brings light, fights all the darkness, like any kind of light fights darkness, and I felt like, even though I feel so small, like this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. That's what I'm saying. But like, I really did. I felt like it was like so small, but like so, like it was so precious, like, and I just felt like there's so much horror and bitterness and like hate and all this stuff, and like, and I am not saying that none of that is valid, because like I totally think it is, but it was just like trying to I don't know, focus on what we can do,
Yeah.
and be like, do you love the earth? Do this awesome stuff,
One of the that makes me think of one of the questions that I actually wrote down as I was kind of sketching some stuff out is like, I don't know if it's the final question or the first question is, what would Earth do? What would Earth say to this? And maybe that's where we have to go. Okay, where Earth would say, "Are you freaking kidding me? Really?"
They did a really good campaign like that. Actually, I got to pull it up again, and they got actors to actually play the voices for like Earth, for soil, for I forget.
Was it Kiss the Ground?
It wasn't Kiss the Ground. It wasn't Kiss the Ground that did
No,
that.
okay.
It was I think it was actually one of the UN campaigns that was doing stuff, and they got actors, like they got Julia Roberts to play Air, or they, and someone played Water, someone played the Forest, the voice of
I'll look
I
it
forget
up.
what it is. You'll have to look it
We'll
up.
have to figure it out.
If you like look through the Seeds of Tao Facebook stuff I shared, I think I shared a couple of it, or maybe I shared it on LinkedIn. Man, I don't know. I have a hard time keeping up on that stuff.
We all do.
Well, yeah, I do.
Anyways, we
realize-
are over time. Sorry, guys. So we can still linger in chat, and I totally dig us being able to be excited at this hour and moving forward and whatnot. Actually, it's Ray's morning, and so he's probably stuff he's got to get going, right? But yeah, thank you for the passion you bring here. I'm just gonna wrap up with what I'm carrying forward in this day, and then if you want to sign off with what you're going to carry forward in this week, that would be great. My thing that I'm carrying forward is this moment, this energy that we brought at the very end of this. So thank you, Michelle, for bringing this question. You did this last time too. This sweet question that got us going. But I'm going to bring this energy. I'm standing up this week, right? Wherever something's coming in to my life, I'm going to be that light, like Mary said, and I'm going to stand up and I'm going to let my light shine, and I'm going to do something. I'm going to take action, because there's no other way that I can actually make things happen unless I take responsibility and take action. So whatever it is, whether it's me being a father and my child, needs me to stand up, I'm going to stand up. If it's someone I'm having a conversation with and I recognize that they're having a hard time, I'm going to stand up. And if it's someone that I feel I have to share something with, because their understanding, if they understood in a similar way, in a regenerative way, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to speak up, right? I'm going to get to work on the things that I have control over, but I'm also going to stand up when something comes my way, and I'm going to be here for you guys and for everybody that needs us to regenerate our people, planet, and future. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to popcorn it over to Michelle. Thanks again for another wonderful question to end us with.
Yeah, I am too. Thank you for the reminder. I think I was just a little tired, but my word for this year is bold, and I have to keep reminding myself of that word. And so I am with you. I'm going to maintain this energy, and tomorrow, the end of the week, tomorrow's my bold day. I'm going to go out there and be bold, and also be the light, because I think you can. I agree with that too. I think that by working on myself, I know that vibe and my light has come out. People have noticed some differences in me, and so now I am in a position of personal power and some influence to be able to stand up. So I just had to be reminded of that. I appreciate it. So that's I must be bold tomorrow. And I will pass it on to Ray.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I love the so for me, I think I'm going to echo what everyone's been saying as well. Like, I think be bold, be the light. I talking about the light, and even what Mary said as well, like sometimes that feels so small. Like, have you ever tried to light a candle and you're at that last bit of the flame, and then all of a sudden the next wick catches on, and now you've got two, and then from those two you can start you can start a chain reaction of lighting candles. So it doesn't matter how small the light is, it can be contagious and infectious. And we need to keep passing that baton on of being the light. And it reminded me of another thing about, I used this analogy in this room before, but I think we've got new faces in the space since I brought it up last time. But the way that you light wet wood is to just keep it on the flame long enough, and eventually it will dry itself out and catch the flame. So if you feel like you are around people who aren't really catching the flame yet, just keep being that flame, because eventually they will dry out and catch it. So that's what keeps me going a lot of the time, is I often in my mind say, oh, you're just wet wood at the moment. And it just keeps me kind of going that one day they'll catch the flame and then they'll pass it on. So on that, I'll go to Corey because he's laughing.
I love that wet wood. Was it a metaphor?
Yeah.
Analogy. I love that. I love that. I've used that before, actually in a different way. But okay, what am I taking away? The biggest thing I'm taking away from this is I feel like I'm feeling more. I'm relatively new to this group, and I'm getting to know all you guys. And every discussion, I feel more like I'm in the right place. So that's the biggest thing I'm taking away today. And I'll pass it to Mary.
Mary, you took your camera off and not unmuted. I think that's what you did. Oh, you're still muted.
I think Mary's running to the better Wi-Fi part of
Okay,
the house.
I am so sorry. I don't know what happened. Okay, but I did have a thought. So I love what Ray said about being contagious. And I feel like especially right now, I mean this in the most intense way, I'm going to be studying and learning and teaching. And I feel like contagious in like the best way, like the best thing, and just like to try to make it inviting and exciting, you know? So yeah, sorry, I got a little derailed with that weird disconnect just now when I was scrambling. But I really like that.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, who do I pop it to?
I think that's
And the
it.
last. Oh,
You're the
okay.
last. This has been a really fun session. I have so much fun with these. Even when we just have like 2 of us or 3 of us, right? Sometimes those are the better days because we can let our guard down a little bit or just share a little bit deeper. So thank you for showing up again. Thank you guys for being the light and being bold and doing these wonderful guerrilla gardening things. All of these little things are adding and contributing and creating a more regenerative world. And we're making a business out of it. We're making a livelihood out of it. And we're showing up for our families and for our communities and so forth. So keep on doing it. I'll see you next week. Bye for now, guys.
See ya.